life is too hectic. It's just too much. And it's designed to be too much. You see, distraction and exhaustion are really good tools to keep people in check. But there used to be something really powerful that we had to combat this. And yeah, sometimes it's play, that's included. Sometimes we're talking about some spiritual time or retreat. Yeah, that could happen too. But sometimes it's just the act of making space to rest and renew ourselves. The English word for that is Sabbath. You might also know it as Shabbat or Shabbos. The day of rest that Christians have turned into something to squabble about and keep everyone from practicing. Let's talk about Sabbath practice and reclaiming it so that we can actually recharge ourselves today as we walk together down Creation's path. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I am a Christopagan Druid and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan Druid and sous chef to the Dagda.
So today we are going to be talking about Sabbath practice. And yes, don't worry, we are going to cover the Sabbath controversy, which isn't really a controversy at all, but to that. But first, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever the app is you're listening to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday, and you don't want to miss a thing. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. All right, let's just get into it. The Sabbath is the thing that changed my life. It really did. Learning the proper way to practice the Sabbath and to not only honor it, but to defend it with all of my might has been one of the most important spiritual practices I have ever embarked on.
I agree with that, but in a funny sort of way. Sabbath was a thing that was a point of suffering and then added a lot of complexities and heartache into my life. Then I learned how to do it right, and it has saved my life and is a wonderful and worth fighting for and defending. Actually, you're 100% with you on that part. But my journey was a little different in that sense where I butted heads with Sabbath, but that's because I was not doing it correctly. That's also where I come from, the position of you could do it wrong. And when it's suffering and heartache and difficulty, you have done it wrong, because there are a lot of people, preachers, religious imperial complexes, the powers of principalities love to bring suffering in our lives that attacked the Sabbath and made it very problematic.
So let's start with what I think is going to have to become one of our regular mantras. God is not petty, people are petty. Whenever you encounter a petty God, you are encountering a petty person projecting their pettiness onto God. Because if God were actually as petty as people make God out to be, nothing would exist.
Like, on this note, I've always struggled with the petty God, because every time that comes up, that verse that God is not a respecter of persons comes into my head.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why would he be so personally involved in your individual, this one person's life, if he's not really a respecter of persons, especially for something petty? Like, I'm always like, there's a lot more to do. Like, why would he care what Bob so-and-so did on this one Wednesday, 2025?
So does the divine actually care what day you practice your Sabbath on? No. And I know that's going to upset a lot of people. No. The story in Genesis where God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th is a pattern. It is first of all, in the original Hebrew, it is a poem, which, as we all know, poems are always meant to be read literally.
Isn't also the word day better translated as aeon?
No, the word day there is yom, and yom usually means day.
Okay.
But it can be generically used for a period of time, but it's almost always a day. But whether that's a 24-hour day, remember, days were reckoned different back in the day, because Jewish days, like Irish days, are reckoned from sundown to sundown, not on a 24-hour clock. So days actually did vary in length throughout the year.
I find it very amusing that modern science, we learn that time is relative. and it is very differently depending upon the amount of gravitational forces one is existing in. So we know that if you're birthing a son, there's a huge gravitational forces involved. So just in and of itself, that means basic science tells us that the passage of a day is different. We also know passage of day generally is based on orbiting around a sun, and orbital distances would also mean that's not what we would call a 24-hour period.
Thanks to the ability that we have to accurately track time, time is different if you're living in a low valley or a high mountain. The time actually passes at a different rate. And for the people up on the space station, it passes at a different rate still. Every time you get on a plane, time is literally moving at a different rate for you than the people that are on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. So for all those that want to dogmatically stick to this being a 24-hour period, even basic science says, no, that's not possible.
But beyond that, and any of that, if you're focusing in on what day, in Christianity, there is a huge problem with people arguing over whether it should be Saturday or Sunday, because we know that the Jewish Sabbath is on Saturday, or technically from Friday night to Saturday night, because we remember when days actually start. So is the Christian Sabbath supposed to be Saturday or Sunday? And this has caused literal schisms within the church. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. In fact, we don't even know when the early church practiced their Sabbath, because they simply refer to it as the Lord's Day, but they never tell us which day of the week the Lord's Day is. So if they were being traditional, that would probably have still been Saturday. We just don't know. The point is, it doesn't really matter. If the only reason having a set day of the week does matter is, one, it helps you to make sure that you are always taking that day off. Also, you can coordinate with other people so that you are all taking that day off and can rest and rejuvenate together, because a lot of things that are very helpful for our rejuvenation and renewal involve other people, like playing games and having conversations and whatnot, right?
And also just the general health and rejuvenation that comes about through community and community activities.
So don't fret. We actually practice a double Sabbath in the way that we do things. Saturday is a very strict, unless the world will end or you really, really, really have a good reason. I do not work on Saturdays. Saturday is my day off. That's how I do it. And I am very strict about this, because one of the things that you will notice when you start practicing the Sabbath is how many people will want to encroach on that time and take that time away from you. This is not because they are mean, greedy, or evil, generally. It is because they're like, oh, you have free time, so I can help fill your free time. Because in our broken modern understanding of things, we have created this weird notion of free time that, I'm not going to get into all of it, is rooted in the idea of capitalism. And this is time that can be then spent like currency in the market of activities and blah, 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 blah.
It's also born out of this deep-rooted aversion, at least in our American culture, blank spaces, to empty spaces. Yeah. This aversion is an aversion to silence. So when there's empty space of sound, we have a strong aversion to that. And any blank spaces, including scheduled time. When there's spaces in scheduled time, there's like this aversion, this need that has to be filled. It can't be left as a blank space.
So don't be angry if somebody tries to encroach on your time. Just explain to them, it's not free time. It is my Sabbath. It is filled with other things. Now, what it is filled with really is up to the individual. Remember, this Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, as Jesus reminds us, and as many of the other prophets have as well. So if this is a day that you want to spend in prayer and meditation and on your spiritual pursuits, do it. If this is the day that you want to play video games with your friends, do it. If you just want to be alone and read, or just sleep all day, whatever brings you rest and renewal, it is a day to put down your labors, to put down your work, and to find rest. I know that can be really hard, especially if you have kids, but encouraging your kids to have Sabbaths as well is a good thing to help them in their future life. This might be a good day for family movie day or family games or something that you can all do together for rest and renewal. If you have a whole bunch of things scheduled on that day that you're going to be running around frantically from point to point, unless you're a very particular kind of person that finds that restorative, and I don't know how many of those kinds of people exist in the world, then that's not an actual Sabbath.
This was where, for me, I had to start with some of those earlier Sabbaths, actually exploring myself, my habits, and how my brain works to learn what counts as actually restful and rejuvenating and what doesn't, because there is no strict structure involved. Even within my own brain, there's certain things that I actually cannot allow a strict structure to be in place, or else it will instantly make it not restful. And it was really important to learn that, because that was one of the ways I was able to make it an actual restful and rejuvenating day. Like Charlie said, in my head, I had to set up that this entire time is Sabbath time. I don't have this weird nagging urge to fill that space or a drive to fill that space. So it instantly pulls that pressure off of me. But beyond that, I had to leave everything in that, under that category, vague and amorphous for myself, so that I could just freely float about in that time, because every week it's something different that is actually resting and rejuvenating, and other things that maybe the week before was resting and rejuvenating for me that isn't. And so I had to learn to just be very fluid with that, and also non-judgmental. I had to make sure that if I did an activity, I was allowing myself to go, okay, I'm not resting and rejuvenating in this activity, and being able to just stop immediately and change to something else, and not judge myself for not completing the task. Because once again, if you have a completion drive, this may be an opportunity to address it, like in myself, where I feel like I have to complete the thing I started, and to be allowed, I had to train. I was able to use as an opportunity to learn how to be able to put things down and walk away.
To try to help you understand what a good Sabbath is, in Rabbi Rami Shapiro's wonderful book, Minyan, where he takes the 10 commandments and turns them into something more akin to Buddhist mindfulness vows and develops a practice around them. The fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. He gives us this mindfulness vow. Remember the Sabbath and set it apart. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful living, I vow to cultivate Shabbat as a weekly day of mindfulness and attention, setting it aside for rest, renewal, reflection, and recreation. Or, since you put a hyphen in there, recreation. I vow to cultivate the Sabbaths of the 7th year and the 7th cycle of years. In the sabbatical year, I vow to rethink my priorities and reassess the decisions I have made that have brought me to this place in my life. I vow to make the changes that may be necessary to set my life firmly on the just and compassionate path. In the Jubilee year, I vow to free myself of debt and to help free those who are indebted to me. I vow to work towards a just world where all are free to develop their fullest potential. And I think that at the beginning of this vow of setting it aside for rest, renewal, reflection, and recreation is the most important aspect of understanding what Sabbath, Shabbat, Shabbos, whatever you call it, is. It is a day for you to reconnect to yourself, to let go of your stresses, whatever they are, and to find whatever recharges your batteries and do that. And that, to me, is what is most missing from all of our activities. It's what is missing from everything that we do in life. By the way, as a side note, if you'd like us to do a study on Minyan as a series in the podcast, let me know. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a book that I go back to regularly. I recite the Minyan vows every new moon as part of my new moon practice, as a way of connecting me mindfully to the practice that I'm living. We have a new moon coming up this week. I will be doing that again. But if you'd like us to go further into this book, I think that would be wonderful, and it's something we can do.
I think that would be a really neat idea. I like that idea of looking into it first. When we first got into the Minyan vows, that was one of the things that really helped me to reframe and recontextualize the Sabbath, because my first pitfall in suffering was trying to find a strict day to rigidly observe, and that caused so much suffering and conflict, because oftentimes my schedule has to be more fluid because a lot of times I work in places that I didn't have a regular Monday through Friday schedule. I worked maybe 5 days a week, but it would be different days week to week. Even after that, that helped. But then, like you said, in the Minyan vows, remembering to be mindful that day.
Yeah.
I started with that. And after practicing many Sabbaths of being mindful, and at first starting with more rigid structures, okay, it's a day of rest. And then later through practicing the mindfulness, keeping that first, I started to realize and learn, okay, now I can add this thing in, or okay, this day goofing off wasn't actually restful because that wasn't what was rejuvenating to me that day. That Sabbath, what would have been more rejuvenating was being creative, and some culinary project all day was actually going to be restful for me. I started to learn that other things, messing around in the garden, might be restful. There things, even things that were considered chores, sometimes in the right mindset wasn't a chore, like doing dishes or cleaning up the kitchen. I found some Sabbaths that to be very restful and rejuvenating because I was not only being mindful, but in a mindset of rejuvenation. It became an act of creating because I was creating a pleasant environment for cooking in and for doing other creative acts. And so it started with that really helped me to be more fluid with my Sabbaths, both in what day I'm observing it and more fluid in what activities counted as restful, to the point now where I might be doing something, and if Charlie is questioning whether it's restful or not, they'll just be like, hey, is this restful? And I can pause and be like, yep. Or no, actually, you're right. I don't think I'm relaxed, resting, rejuvenating, and then can drop it and switch activities.
This is what we always say, and here's where you have to do the work yourself. This is where you need to figure out what that is, because what the things that I find restful and things that Brian finds restful are not always the same things, and sometimes not even the same things at the same time. Like we both find playing video games to be restful, but sometimes when I want to play a video game, it would stress him out, or sometimes when he wants to play a video game, it would stress me out because I'm just not in a place for that. So learning those limits and understanding exactly what it is that is going to be restful for you in that moment. I really think that we need to understand this problem that we have with structured time in our society and culture, because I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way, but I often feel like the most stressful thing in the world is managed playtime. Now is your time to goof off now. Like when I was trying to do the Pomodoro technique, for example, for productivity, there's a set period that you work and a set period of time to relax. And I found it so stressful to take those breaks because, oh no, I have to relax now. Am I relaxing? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing to relaxing? Is this the best way to relax? Well, I don't want to relax too much or I'm going to lose what I'm doing and not be ready to get back into it when the timer goes off. And so my mind would race and spin out in those moments, and they would tire me out more than if I worked through, or if I changed it and went the other way around of, instead of managed time to rest, it was managed time to work, and started working with sprints instead, because now I'm managing my work time, not my off time. And so don't schedule out your day like, okay, from this time to this time, we are going to play from this time to this time, unless that actually relaxes you. Because there are some people that need that kind of structure. But if you're not one of them, don't do that. This is a day, I like to call it, this is my ADHD have fun day, because I spend a lot of time throughout the week really managing my ADHD and really keeping focused and on track with things. I just let my brain do whatever it wants to on my Sabbath. So that could be hyper focusing in on a project or an idea or a creative thing that I just really need to be playing with and being with that day. I could get lost in a video game or a movie, or just sit and listen to music all day, whatever it is. But I just let myself have that freedom and kind of release the reins, because that tight grip that I need to have on myself throughout the work week in order to get work done, I just have to let that go once a week. And my brain knows Friday night's coming up. Like Friday night, for example, I don't have a bedtime on Friday night. This is one of the things that I do on my Sabbath. I do not have a bedtime on Friday night. So Friday night comes up, and I like to watch spooky videos on YouTube because I find them entertaining. So my brain knows I can play around with this. I can have as much fun as I want to with this. If I'm tired, I will go to bed early, but I don't have to. I don't have to fit a schedule this day. I am allowed to have that time for just rejuvenation. And if I remember one night I watched a video that was like this strange creature got caught on a trail cam, and I was like, oh, that's a real creature? And I looked into it and I found out, oh, that is a real creature, and spent all the way through sunrise learning about this critter that I did not know existed. It was so restful and so rejuvenating for me, right? But if you're one of those people that needs to have a set sleep time and a set wake up time, or you don't rest well, you need to know that about yourselves and hold to that, because again, the purpose of this day is rejuvenation and renewal. So knowing what actually brings that to you will really help you out in developing your own Sabbath practice, because it is a practice. It is something that you'll be perfecting a little bit here and a little bit there throughout your life, finding little things that make you happy, little things that I'm a very much an isolating kind of person. I like to be alone. I'm not one for being around people, but over the years, Saturday has become one of the days of the week I look forward to having people over. And we do have people over, and they're very selective who is invited over and who can be in the house, because anybody that is draining, they're not allowed. They're not allowed. And those are people that you then have to start asking, why are they in my life to begin with? You start learning a lot about yourself and your relationships by who is welcome on the Sabbath, who can be there and that you can share space with, that help you to feel renewed and rested and relaxed, and that help you have that recreation time. Those are all very important things to be taken into consideration as you are working on what Sabbath looks like for you. And like I said, this could be your witchcraft day. This could be your prayer and devotional day. This could be your go to church day, whatever any of that means for you. But it does not have to be. This is the problem with this kind of regimented life that we have developed for ourselves, that we think that it has to be one specific thing or another. And there are weeks where I let everybody know this Sabbath is Charlie is doing a retreat day. I'm going to be doing these meditations. I'm going to be doing these journeys. This is what I'm doing today. Anybody that wants to go on the trip with me, you're welcome to show up. But this is what this Sabbath is this week. And other times it's just games and TV shows and movies and what have you, or just hanging out with friends.
And that's why I like to think of there really are only two main rules to Sabbath. And one is that it is for you, the individual practitioner. It's for your benefit, for you to do. It's the one, like you could almost say, we were commanded to observe this day for ourselves. It's our time. And two, what is restful and rejuvenating, and just keeping both those in mind. And that's why, like for me, where some Sabbaths become this huge culinary project because it's rejuvenating and I'm excited about something and I'm just going to sit and play with it. And that's the thing, to make sure it stays restful and rejuvenating. It's a pure creative act. There's no expectation of it to even succeed, or there's no expectation of it being a good meal. Every Sabbath I have prepared some stuff already in the fridge to cover basic food needs. So that's not an obligation on that day, so that even that obligation doesn't exist, that we could just grab something real quick or order something real quick. And then this way, if I spend the whole day creating something for us to enjoy and eat, even if it turns out bad, I just go, slide it aside, pull something else out and then rock with it. And also no judgment as well. So that if it turns out to be not a good thing or something really strange, there have been several that were really good, but never repeat again. Meals we've had out of it.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful adventure. That's it. But it's about that resting, that rejuvenating, about learning about yourself. That was one of the things I learned from Sabbath. I used to struggle a lot with bedtime and getting up. And I need to not be strict about my bedtime, but I have to be very strict with my getting up time. Basically, I have to be up by a certain time. And I learned that even when my brain tries to fight against that and say, when it's time to go to bed and you're just like not tired, your brain's playing those games, you're not tired, just stay up doing things, that I will just get tired enough that I will be more than happy to go to bed early and get caught up on some of that sleep. But I found I can't be that flexible with the wake up time because that's how I have schedule shift and end up going to bed at 8 in the morning and getting up at 2 in the afternoon.
Which is how life should be. You go to bed at sunrise, you go to sometime later, like light hours aren't important. But
which is why we're like, it's all about what works for you personally. Learning how your brain works.
Learning your circadian rhythms also helps.
You're learning your circadian rhythms.
I come from an entire family of night owls. Like we are all much more active when the sun goes down.
Yeah. But I learned that I've got more of a split circadian rhythm technically, but definitely a night owl-ish.
But I would love to know what your practice of the Sabbath is. Your Sabbath, your Shabbos, your Shabbat, whatever you call it. Let me know in the comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if it says you can leave a comment, they don't let us know, so we won't know. So head over, leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a comment there. While you're there, if you have a few dollars you can pass our way, we offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both. You can also support us through the Cash App, hashtag CreationsPaths. Thank you to everybody who does that. It really does mean the world to us. It really does help us out a lot. If we've ever said or done anything that's helped you out or you think would help out others, please share it with them. That helps us out more than you could possibly know. And I'm meant to ask if you think that you should do the outro prayer to the Dagda because the Sabbath.
And as we're heading out today, the Dagda, may your heart sound in all of our hearts at every Sabbath, bringing harmony and peace. And may your cauldron of plenty open so that we may partake deeply, plenty of rest and rejuvenation. Amen.
Amen.